Right. Ladies and gentlemen, episode 2 of the Restaurant. Gary Hashman and Butch Hiles here. We are with Marcello Monteiro today. We're getting ready for his upcoming trip to West Virginia. He's going to be in Charleston on the 3rd Monday at 6 o'clock. Marcello, thank you for joining us.
Awesome. Very excited with my upcoming trip. Very excited. It's been a while already.
So, Marcello, you want to tell us a little bit of how you got started coming to the United States, coming to Charleston in particular, and basically the path you kind of laid for jiu-jitsu in the Ohio Valley, let alone the United States as well.
100%. Like I started traveling to the US for jiu-jitsu in 1999. But in the beginning, I was more like teaching like seminars, doing a few competitions and helping just a little bit to spread out BJJ, But I was still living in Brazil at that time, and where I had just opened my very first academy on the mountains of Rio, not in 1999, in 1998. And I moved to the US in 2003. And right after that, I started traveling like all over, like visiting all the jiu-jitsu clubs, academies, and I remember my very first trip to West Virginia at Butch Hiles Academy, where I was traveling with João Hurley at that time. Do you remember Pitbull?
Yeah, and I think did he just get his brown belt around that time as well?
Yes. He used to help me during my seminar. He was like a young kid, one of my students from Brazil. At that time, maybe 16 years old, and he used to help me a lot because I used to not only teach, but wrestle, like roll with everyone after my seminars. Sometimes I used to be on the mats for an extra, like 2 hours. And during the sparring sessions, I was always trying to catch everybody with the techniques that I was teaching during the seminars. For sure at that time I was like I'm a lot younger, not as much as injuries I have nowadays, and so I had a lot more energy to do that, and very excited to see. Very happy to see, how BJJ, man, it is right now in West Virginia, not only West Virginia, but man, in the Midwest, North of the US, in the entire country, it's all over right now. Like a long time ago when I moved here, only 2 black belts in the Midwest, me and Carson Gracie Jr. in Chicago. We kind of like moved about the same time. He was a little bit before me, but he was a lot in Japan, I heard. And maybe 1 year after, Saulo Ribeiro and Xande Ribeiro, they moved to the Midwest too. But they stayed here for maybe a little over 1 year. And man, we could count, like how many academies, like how many jiu-jitsu clubs we had in the Midwest, and in the North of the US. And nowadays, we can't count. Like, if you start searching on Google, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of academies, not just in the Midwest, but like all over, and in West Virginia too, which was the very first one over there to start spreading out BJJ in the area. He worked a lot for jiu-jitsu, and all the main jiu-jitsu players nowadays from West Virginia, in my opinion, all over them, they passed by his academy. Not just jiu-jitsu players, but all the main like MMA fighters, jiu-jitsu fighters, MMA fighters, UFC fighters too, and which did a lot for the sport. They're very excited to be there next week.
Next week. Well, yeah, thank you. And I appreciate those kind words. And one of the things I was thinking of while you were talking there is kind of what you said there. So for people that don't know, Marcello has a curriculum, a BJ curriculum that he developed really actually when we first started training in about 2005. And he was working on it then and came out, and it really, I mean, at the time, you know, you definitely said it was your life's work. It still is, right? But here's what I remember about that is that, you know, that was a kind of a staple for us. Like, you know, you wanted to make sure all the students, everybody at my gym was practicing the curriculum, that we're all getting a good solid base and that's something we can build upon, and that your whole association was working on it. So that way, when you came back, we're all ready. And what I found funny is sometimes you would do seminars and you'd ask somebody to do a technique, and they could be, you know, from one of our affiliate gyms or even from my gym. And you say, hey, what's this technique on white to blue or blue to purple, you know, on the second DVD? And they'd be like, well, I don't do it that way. I do it this way. So that was kind of the point. When you rolled with them, you made sure to kick everybody's ass and say, hey, you know what? That was from white to blue, volume 4, move 3. And then you would run through those moves, and I thought it was hilarious. So it really shut everybody up. So everybody that was like, well, I don't need to know that, or I do it this way. I mean, you totally shut them down and made them a believer in the technique and in the curriculum and getting everything set, because if not, they got completely embarrassed on the mat. And it's funny for us to watch, but it made believers out of everybody, which I think is important. That's the great thing about jiu-jitsu is if you don't believe it works, then come try me and see what happens, right?
Yes. I was just trying to show everybody like my love, my passion, you know, for everything I believe, everything I was teaching at that time, you know, especially talking about the curriculum. In my beginning, man, when I was like a purple belt, you know, I wish like write notes, like film techniques all the time, you know, helping my instructor in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And man, I wish like take a lot of notes, you know, and when I opened my very first academy in 1998, I was like, man, you know what? I wasn't just writing down notes or techniques. I was like kind of like creating a catalog. Can you say catalog?
Yes, it makes sense.
I was like, I had already a curriculum, but not in DVDs, not in apps, you know, but I have the entire structure about like all the most important details and techniques for white belts, for blue belts, how to speed up somebody's game, how to all the most important control positions from the bottom, from the top, since the very beginning, how to open guard the proper way, what to do from here, what to do from that position, from the bottom or from the top, all the most important control positions, the backbone of Jiu-Jitsu, in my opinion. I was very fortunate because I was in the right time, you know, like training with the right masters, you know, the legends of Jiu-Jitsu, you know, they should all be on the mats, like at the,
Not to interrupt, but somebody that people would remember that, you know, didn't you give the Minotauro brothers their blue belts, or
no. Minotauro, he's a student under one of my best friends, and we were talking on the phone yesterday. You know, we were friends since I was a blue belt. I was a blue belt. Guilherme Side was a purple belt. I was a purple, and then Guilherme was a brown belt. You know, and Minotauro, he earned his blue, purple, brown, and black belt from Guilherme Side. Okay, and I wish to help a lot at De La Riva in his academy in Rio, and De La Riva and Guilherme Assad, he's also a black belt under Ricardo De La Riva. That's the confusion, makes sense, because I was, when Minotauro, he was in the Rio, okay, because Guilherme Assad was bringing Minotauro to train, to develop his game in Rio. He should bring Minotauro to De La Riva's academy, you know, and I should be one of the assistants over there. And then in, I think it was like 1999, 2000, just a little before the Minotauro started becoming very famous. He he used to go to the top of the mountains in Rio to train at my school. Okay, and I helped a lot his half guard game. And but I was not only helping his half guard game with techniques. I was also recording techniques, okay, details for him to keep developing and studying his game, because at that time he was already living in the United States in Florida. And so in 1999 he was in Brazil, but not as often as before, because he was already like in the States as well. Makes sense. And right after that he won like rings, and then then he became very famous and with the Pride in Japan. And then man, he just
Ring was
one of the biggest legends ever, you know. And I'm very happy because he took a few trips to the mountains in Rio, okay, to develop his game, his half guard game with me. I'm very proud of this, you know. But he did that because he knew me a lot. I know him since he was actually like a white belt, because of my friendship with Guilherme Assad.
Well, and I was gonna say the rings event, people don't know, but I mean that event Randy Couture was in, and anyway, super famous event that a lot of people in America don't know about, because it was kind of, those were the days that there was no internet, I don't think, right, Gary?
No.
Yeah. So you had to be like, I had it on VHS tape. I mean, that's how long ago it was.
Yeah, I was gonna say all of that stuff had to be. It was, you had to know somebody who knew somebody who had a video of it, and then you got a copy of a VHS tape that was mixed down, or somebody, maybe it was the early times where like somebody might have been able to burn you a DVD.
Yeah, maybe, right, maybe. But yeah, and then so speaking of that though, Marcel, then so we're, and also I know that actually even when Minotaur and his brother were famous, they came to Indianapolis and trained with you too. I've got a couple of pictures of that all happening, but beyond that, I do want to say, like, what people ought to forget, like, did you train directly under Carlson Gracie, or was it mostly with De La Riva? Because obviously I know De La Riva got his black belt under Carlson, but how did that work? Were you all together at that time?
100% under Ricardo De La Riva.
Really? Okay. So
100% under Ricardo De La Riva. When they created the very first Carlson Gracie team, okay, Liborio, Murilo, and Bebel, they were organizing the Carlson Gracie team in Rio. You know, they tried to bring all the academies, linked it to Carlson together, and then that's when I started visiting more the Carlson Gracie school. At that time, I was a purple belt, almost a brown belt, you know. And right after that, they created like a competition, okay, to choose which ones would represent the Carlson Gracie team. And I won the lightweight division, okay, in that like closed door competition that happened. And I did the finals with Arigallo. Arigallo was the main coach on the Carlson Gracie Academy in Rio de Janeiro for over like 10 years, you know, after when Carlson moved to Chicago. And Arigallo is such a great friend of mine too, love him. Great player, you know, and he's still one of the main guys on the Carlson Gracie Junior nowadays, you know, running their association. You know, so a lot of history, man. A lot of history, bro.
Speaking of, I don't want to get too far off the on the talking about seminar, because I do want to talk about the seminar that's coming up and kind of hype people up. But one thing too, I just want to bring up before we get to that is there's some history that a lot of people don't know about that you've made me fully aware. But maybe you can talk about that a little bit too. That people don't know that there's two kind of parts to the whole when jiu-jitsu became popular in Brazil, meaning that the Gracies did it. And who was the other one? Was it Fava or
Fada?
And so you know him personally, right? Is that correct? And
Fada, no.
No.
Carlson Gracie.
Carlson Gracie, but so who is alive? But so when we were talking, there's somebody alive in Brazil right now that you're able to train in that faction, maybe.
Castro Cardoso.
Yes, that's it.
Castro, talk about Castro Cardoso. Oh yes, for sure. Castro Cardoso, great friend of mine too. You know, is one of the biggest legends ever in the sport. And he teaches inside of his apartment in Barra da Tijuca, Rio de Janeiro.
And only certain people are allowed to go to there, right?
Yes, invited only, you know. Yeah. And Cas Cardoso, for example, when De La Riva was a blue belt, Cas Cardoso was already a black belt, you know. And he has a historical match against Marcelo Bering, you know, a 1 hour match, you know, that happened a long time ago when he beat Marcelo Bering. And I think they fought 2 or 3 times after that. And Cas Cardoso, he used to be the one that used to run the Carson Grace competition training on the weekends that used to happen a long time ago, where De La Riva was a blue belt, Murilo Bustamante was a white belt, you know, and all those main famous guys, they were all like beginners, you know, and Cas Cardoso used to be the one that we should like kind of like train all of them for Carson Grace. You know, he's actually the one that showed the De La Riva hook, you know, they used to call gancho pudim for De La Riva.
I read an article one time that Carlson Gracie used to call the De La Riva the Jello guard. Does that sound familiar?
Jello guard. Jello, you translate it to pudding guard. Pudding. Gancho pudim. You know, Jello guard. You know.
Yeah. Interesting. And by the way, I've noticed too, I've seen obviously you would know, I've seen some articles lately, and it seems like there's been a lot of changes to the De La Riva guard because of leg locks. Is that true? Or
remember, the Jiu-Jitsu keeps developing, you know, all over, like counters and recounters, you know, but the backbone of Jiu-Jitsu is the same, you know. If you learn the real deal, you know, the backbone, and you can add different like techniques, weapons for your game, you know, all the time. You know, you asked about the Gracies, you spoke about the father's family, etc., about a long time ago. Just one thing really quick. When Mitsuno Maeda moved to Brazil, he traveled a lot in Brazil. He had other students, you know, but the Grace family, they are the ones that like lived, you know, in the we are like, we have a mission from now on, you know, and they're the ones that fought for the cause, you know, and because of the Grace family, we're here nowadays, you know, like teaching Jiu-Jitsu, because they opened doors for everyone, you know.
No, that's important. Last thing before I let you take kind of over, Gary, because I don't want to hog all the time. I'm sorry, buddy, but what I was thinking, that was one of the things that drew me to you, like when, just for kind of a history lesson, you know, I got my blue belt and purple belt under Hoist Gracie, and that was the original thing, right?
Big legend.
Yeah,
One of him too.
Yeah, and that was I think originally when we all watched the UFC and then learned what jiu-jitsu was in America, of course, then if I could train with Hoist Gracie, that was like the icing on the cake, right? So I was lucky enough to get to do that. And so I was a purple belt with Hoist when I met you, a friend of mine, Justin Morris, which is a black belt under you. And he may have been one of your first affiliates, if not the first affiliate in Wisconsin, right?
Yeah, the first academy. The first in Beaver Dam, Wisconsin.
Yeah. So, and he and I had talked, we were friends on the internet, and he was under Pedro Sauer at the time. And I was under Hoist Gracie. We were just friends, and we would talk, and I think things were progressing into the self-defense thing, and that's not really exactly what we're looking for, even though we love it. I still really support the self-defense, and I'm so glad that I learned it, right?
100%.
Yeah.
I strongly believe that if you're learning, okay, man, the real deal, the real game, man, two sides of the same coin makes sense.
Yes,
Just like gi and no gi, you just need to learn the transitions from one to the other.
absolutely. Yeah, and that was the thing, and that's what I'm not trashing any
Oh,
side.
sure,
I
yeah.
love it all, right? I love it all, and it just so happened with most of the people that wanted to join our academy wanted to do quote unquote sports jiu-jitsu. They wanted to see what they saw, right? Like kind of not necessarily UFC, but what they're doing in the UFC, right? Like MMA type stuff, but even just the grappling part of MMA. So they weren't most of our guys, and really what I was interested in at the time wasn't the knife defense and the gun defense and that kind of stuff. It was more the sports side. So when I met you, it was exactly kind of what I was looking for. Plus the other thing was, to be honest, it was not even I was unhappy. The other thing is just it got so that if I'm training with somebody and I don't really get to see him, Hoist was very busy, I didn't get to see him. So but that's also what Justin said. He's like, hey, there's this guy that's just moving here from Brazil. Nobody knows who he is right now, which means that's good for you and I. We can train with this guy a bunch, right? So I was like, hell yeah. So he told he was like, yeah, like see if you can get him down for a seminar. And you and your son came down, your stepson Junior. And then that was the other thing that opened my eyes, because Junior at the time, like you said, was 16, probably 150 pounds, right?
140 pounds, 145 pounds.
145 pounds. Yeah. Well, just so people know too, he's not just an average 16-year-old. He was training with Miguel Torres at the time, right? In Indianapolis, you probably.
Miguel Torres, you should train under Braulio Corral.
Yes. Yeah.
Braulio Corral, he's my very first American black belt.
Yeah. So he wasn't your just run-of-the-mill guy. And I say that because that's ultimately what got me to switch, because I expected you to kick my ass because you're some Brazilian black belt guy, but I was like, well, I'll beat this little tiny brown belt guy up. I'll be all right. And I was a purple belt, 240 pounds, 6'6". No, it didn't happen. So I got smoked for like probably an hour straight. Went in my car, and I told you this story. I went in my car because I was waiting for you to come in my car so we could go out to dinner. But I was sitting in the car about to cry, and I don't cry. Right. So I was about to cry because I got beat up for so long. And then but really it's not even so much that I lost, because that you lose all the time. It's not a big deal. My ego was hurt for sure. But what really was sad is I was like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. I thought I was really good. I was a purple belt. And then after I rolled with both of you guys, I mean, I couldn't last for 30 seconds with, no offense, but I was like, these little tiny people, I should be killing these people. And I was like, I just didn't know what to do. And I remember then you finally got in the car, and I think you must have saw it on my face because you said, what's wrong?
But what happened with me, okay? What happened with you happened with me too a long time ago.
Yeah. Okay. You said, well, this is the story you told me, and it made me feel better.
When I was becoming a purple belt, I used to help a lot my instructor, okay? And that's why I like to say that it was the right time in learning from the right source, because not only Ricardo de la Riva, but Ricardo Jucá as well too, and many other masters from Brazil that used to visit our academy all the time. They should invite me to be on the mats with them, etc., etc., etc. But when I was becoming a purple belt, they're like correcting my game, like, Marcelo, don't do this because of this. Marcelo, pay attention about this detail here. Marcelo, no, this is wrong. No, Marcelo, you need to play just like this, and add different details and correcting the way I was playing. And they were helping me not only to become a better fighter, okay, but also a better instructor, okay. And I mean, that's when I started taking a lot of notes, because I was just going crazy, for, man, I need to write this down, and then when I opened my very first academy in the mountains in Rio in 1998, very successful academy in Rio de Janeiro, two big mountains, okay, Teresópolis and Nova Friburgo. Teresópolis, it is where the Grace family, they used to live. Okay, nowadays, like the majority of academies over there, they're under Grace Barra, okay, and they go more towards that lineage. But on Nova Friburgo mountain, okay, and all the small mountains around Nova Friburgo, the majority of the black belts, they are my black belts, okay, from 1998 when I started teaching over there. And for example, the main academy over there, the name is Fight Co. That's where all the UFC fighters they train on the mountains in Rio. And the black belt over there, his name is Denver Amaral. Okay, he's one of my very first students, you know, a black belt under me too. But Butch, when I moved here in 2003, okay, I knew what would happen in the future because I knew what I was about to start teaching to everyone, makes sense. And I knew that I was about to blow everybody's brain because everybody's mind because I was teaching the real deal, you know, not my techniques, okay, not my jiu-jitsu, but I was reteaching what I learned from the legends. Makes sense. The details, etc., etc. And that's why everywhere I go to teach seminars, my best advertise is the word of mouth because everyone that when they do my seminar, they say, "Man, this guy really helped my game." You know, it's not about being like 3, 4, 5 times world champion, okay, in jiu-jitsu. It's about like you need to know what you teach, and the people that are learning from you, they need to like, to make the difference in my game. It's really helping my game, you know, because one thing is when you are a competitor, a fighter. A different thing it is when you become an instructor. I used to compete a lot, you know. I won the nationals in Brazil. I already won the Pan Ams, you know, etc., etc. But my best marketing, advertising, you know, is the word of mouth, you know, always, you know, since I moved in 2003. And nowadays, for example, I have black belts under me in Europe. I have like Ireland, Portugal. I have in Sydney, Australia, Melbourne, Australia, Japan. You know, I'm very strong in South Africa. I wish to go to South Africa twice every year, South Africa and Central Africa as well. You know, like I traveled like crazy for maybe almost 15 years. You know, and
so I was gonna say I think a lot of it too. Like early on, because of the UFC, I think jiu-jitsu was synonymous with the Gracie name in the United States anyway. And for whatever reason, other big names like De La Riva were forgotten or at least not known in the United States because when we thought of jiu-jitsu here in the States, we thought Gracie and we thought that was the end all be all. And so I know even when I started, and that was in 2011, it was you know, in Ohio, we thought if it wasn't Gracie, then it wasn't jiu-jitsu, you know, and it was just kind of like lack of knowledge. And I don't know how big of a struggle was it for you to break through that wall of like, hey, my last name isn't Gracie, but I still know jiu-jitsu.
The Grace family, okay, the Grace family, they restarted jiu-jitsu. Makes sense. They made jiu-jitsu becoming popular. That's why jiu-jitsu became so popular that became Brazilian jiu-jitsu. You know what I'm saying? Because like we don't have the last name Gracie, you know. And I mean, I'm very proud, you know, because I had the opportunity to learn from them too, you know. And for example, once I did like a Grace camp in Cancun, you know, with some of the legends from the Grace family. Makes sense. But before that, I had the opportunity to visit Carson Grace too, you know, and I met many of them. Makes sense. But I don't have the last name Grace, you know, and I came from a different lineage. Makes sense. But all the lineage came from the Grace. Makes sense, because De La Riva is a black belt under Carson Grace. Makes sense. And all the others that I learned from, they are black belts from the Graces. Makes sense. So all the lineages, the majority of the lineages, they came from the Grace family.
But to your point, though, Gary, I think this happened too. I remember early on, even before Marcello came here, I had Kaiki done, right? Like, and he trained with the Gracies. But this is one of the things he told me. He said, "Hey, my last name's not Gracie, so that means that when I come, I have to either compete on the mat and really show people who I am, or my students have to really kick butt." And I think that's essentially what Marcello was doing earlier when he said, "I used to come to all the seminars." Like, as we get older, I mean, Marcello can still do that, right? But he also has to stay injury free, so he can travel the world. But that's what Marcello had to do. He had to prove it. Like, he proved himself to me, but then he wanted to prove himself to the gym, right? So he would come down and he'd roll with 50 people, 100, on Friday, and then he'd do it again on Saturday, and then do it again on Sunday, and then do it again. Like, it was nonstop, because, like you said, Gary, his last name wasn't Gracie. I think that's the added pressure, right? Because Hoist could come in and not roll with anybody, but it was Hoist, right? And nobody cared.
Yeah. I feel like my mission was spread out jiu-jitsu, help to spread out jiu-jitsu, and my passion, since I was like 16 years old, I had jiu-jitsu in my blood, in my heart, like 100%. Makes sense. Like, and when I start coming to the United States, important thing to speak about the curriculum. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, man, I had like a lot of people visiting my academy, and I was traveling all over, teaching seminars, rolling with everybody, and a lot of white belts. They're asking, "Oh, Marcelo, what do I need to learn to improve my game?" A lot of blue belts, they're like, "Oh, Marcelo, what do I need to learn to earn my purple belt?" Makes sense. And I had instructors too, like asking me, "Marcelo, what should I teach to my students?" And doing private classes with me all the time, etc., etc. That's why I decided to hire a company to do the filming and the editing. And all my notes, okay, all my organization became DVDs. That project took me 5 years, and man, I spent over $150,000, because, man, the filming and the editing crazy expensive, and I kept like reinvesting everything. And just because, man, I felt like, man, wow, this is a tool that's gonna help me to help like BJJ players all over in the world, And then down the road, those DVDs, they became apps, and I get messages all the time from cities, from countries that I never visited. People like saying, "Thanks," say, "Man, I love your apps, I love your DVDs, I follow you all the time, you did so much for the sport, blah blah blah," And man, like, I felt like it was like part of my mission, and I'm gonna always keep reinvesting everything I have in jiu-jitsu, because, man, I am jiu-jitsu. I am 100% jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is my life. Makes sense. So, man, this is my it's gonna be my mission forever.
And we'll make sure to link all of that in on the Rest Round page, as far as like the app and your website. I do want to, you talked about taking notes, and I am an avid note taker. I constantly take notes before I teach classes. I write notes down just to make sure that I hit what is the important thing that I need to tell my students about this. Anytime I've ever gone to seminars, a lot of times when I go to just standard classes, I always take notes. And a lot of people don't take advantage of the fact that you need to write this stuff down.
Yeah.
How important is that to you?
It's very important. You need to write this down. I'm saying, but no. It's easier because, man, for example, I have the curriculum, I have the DVDs, I have the apps, etc., etc. But I'm gonna keep developing and trying to improve my game for the rest of my life. For example, when I'm in Brazil, Okay, I'm not just teaching or training. Okay, I go to other seminars too. You know what I'm saying? And it's not about, wow, I know everything he's going to teach. No, it's not about that. It's about to see if he teaches something that I teach a little different, with a different detail. Makes sense? It's about keep improving the knowledge. Same thing. When when a lot of people there start talking about the berimbolo, etc., right? Do you remember? Long
Yeah.
time ago, man, I took a week.
2 years ago.
Yeah,
3 years.
I took a week vacation to travel to California to spend 1 week training at Men's Brothers Academy. You know what I'm saying?
We,
Just to understand the berimbolo, the way they were playing that game. Makes sense. And recently in Brazil, man, I did a seminar with Preguiça. The end of the seminar, we rolled for like 10 minutes. I did a seminar with Bochecha. I did a seminar with, no, I was doing seminars over there. It's not about how much they know, if they not what they teach. It is about picking their brains. Makes sense, and understanding the way they play, because I'm gonna be trying to improve my knowledge as an instructor forever.
no, well, I think this is important too, because
And I take notes. And I take notes. I still take notes.
well, I've had to address this in my academy too, and I think here's one of the things about the curriculum now is it is super important. But it did start becoming, you developed it in, let's say, 2005. When did the curriculum come out officially?
I think it was like 2000, probably 2009. I think
Which
2009.
it's still not old, but what happens in especially with Americans, right? They've got this short attention span, and they look at something and they're like, well, that's old. And I've had to address this in my academy too, where people say, I look at the curriculum, but this is old and this is not jujitsu now. And I'm like, okay, well, first of all, that's not exactly true. But second of all, just like you said at the very beginning, this is an ever evolving thing, right? Every seminar that you come in, you're not teaching the curriculum. You may be teaching an extension off the curriculum,
No,
but it's
sometimes
always constantly evolving, right?
no, I'm always teaching techniques from the curriculum. Okay, adding different tools,
Correct.
adding different details. Makes sense. Okay,
Yeah.
because I'm trying to, for example, okay, uh, I was teaching a seminar, okay, not too long ago, where they were asking me about the helicopter sweep, okay, and then I showed them the very first helicopter sweep, long time ago, the way they should do long time ago. And then I showed them, okay, but after this, we start doing the helicopter sweep like this. And then after this, like this. And then they start doing the helicopter sweep without grips, okay, grabbing their belt. That's the berimbolo. You know what I'm saying? That's the berimbolo. So I show how the development of the technique. Makes sense. And it's like you cannot just show like one move. You need to show how to play the game to arrive in the position you want. And then, man, all the techniques are important. It's not about one technique. So it's about like understanding the game. It makes sense. For example, I can teach you like 100 submissions, okay, but man, if you don't learn how to sweep someone, how to pass his guard, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
how
no, I
how
agree.
to how to counter his game, you'll not be able to finish him. You know what I'm saying?
No, I think that's what Gary and I both teach, right? Is that
Yep.
I know I make a point of it. I'm like, look, you can learn a million moves off YouTube, but if you don't know how to do them and when to do them and why you're doing them, it doesn't matter. It's a pointless endeavor, right? You have to be with an instructor that's gonna to teach you all the correct terms or the correct reason you're doing stuff. And you've always done that. And like I said, that's what always drew me to you, and what draws me to this thing now, and why we're learning this way, and what I appreciate. and really this just, like I said, that's one of the things I just wanted to get out there, is it's that people they need to understand that I've always thought like your game was the most current game, because like you just said, you go into, like, if the Barambolas and anything, then you're off learning it. And then you come back. I mean, you've rolled with BJ Penn, you've rolled with all these every time there's somebody's super famous, you've been with them. And when I hear somebody say something like goofy like that, hey, like, well, this is old, I'm like, well, where you been? Like, because when you come to a seminar, like our last seminar was all about leg locks. Why? Because leg locks are the popular thing now, and everything you showed I had never seen before. So I'm like, what are these people talking about, right? And anyway, you know, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's amazing, and that's why I think at this next seminar, it should blow people's minds, and people that haven't been exposed.
I want to drive everybody's crazy.
Yeah.
In West Virginia, I'm gonna be in West Virginia Monday the 3rd, and then on the 5th, I'm gonna be in Youngstown, Ohio, and then after that, I'm gonna be teaching a seminar at the headquarters here in Indianapolis, and then after that, man, I have like so many seminars. I'm gonna be in Schererville. I'm gonna be in Florida, Oviedo, Orlando. I'm gonna be traveling a lot in May, you know. And man, what I just said, my best advertising is the word of mouth. Makes sense. My best advertising is the word of mouth. And usually I love to arrive the day before to roll with the black belts, with the high ranks, if I feel okay, you know, if I have energy, if I have time. Makes sense. And for example, I'm going to Orlando. I'm going to spend 1 week in Orlando, you know, and because it's going to be a very important seminar over there. It's going to be my very first seminar in a strong academy in Orlando. And man, I want to drive everybody over there crazy. So I'm going to be teaching a seminar, and I'm going to be visiting and their academy again and again. Makes sense. And because I want to, well, I want to drive people's brain crazy, you know.
So what?
I'm very excited. I'm very excited to be in West Virginia.
Two things I want to do here at the end, unless you have more questions, Gary. One thing, hype us up for Monday. And then the other thing, I'm gonna pull up the video in 2007 of you rolling with about 50 of my students and beating them up, and I'll have you walk through the couple moves. We'll finish with that, but
I was going to say before that, I am curious, how many BJJ coach associations are there? Because I'm not sure.
Okay, before the pandemic, okay, almost 100. Before the pandemic,
yeah,
before the restrictions, okay, and I'm sure things are going to get back to the normal again. And but man, like too much politics right now makes sense.
So
like,
are we the first?
Thing, you know, crazy. For just a quick example, okay? In talk about the pandemic, okay? In Rio de Janeiro, we have the biggest favela, okay?
Yeah.
One of the biggest favelas in the world, Rocinha. Almost 200,000 people, okay, living in 1-bedroom houses, okay? 10, 12 people living inside of those houses, okay? Inside of the favelas, all the bars, they're open. All the restaurants, they're open.
Everything, real quick, for folks who don't, I was going to say real quick, for folks who don't know what favelas are, it's kind of like what we would call like the ghetto, kind of.
Yeah.
So all of the bars and stuff are open there, and
yes, because the drug dealers, they take care of the favelas. Makes sense. Okay. Yeah. So the people that runs the restrictions, and I'm saying, if they go there to try to close a restaurant, they'll get shot. You know what I'm saying? Okay. And almost it's like a city, a big city in Rio. Okay, but by the ocean, man, they keep trying to create restrictions all the time, etc., closing business. Like, for example, hey, your business needs to close at 6 p.m. because the COVID will arrive after that. Makes sense?
Yeah.
It's so much BS, man. Like, all over. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. So much corruption, so much politics. We had elections the end of the last year, okay, and the COVID disappeared for 6 weeks. Everything was normal for 6 weeks, and then after the elections, the COVID was back. COVID was back. Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that, bro. I'm like, you know,
No, it's
for sure.
People argue that here too. It's okay. It's okay.
I believe the best way to fight against the virus, okay, it is staying healthy, and that's all. And taking care of your immune system, you know, eating healthy, you know, being happy, and man, that's all. You know,
No,
right?
I know it's not a popular opinion, but I think we're all on the same boat. All of us that jujitsu and train,
Yep.
we work out, and we personally know that it's almost been none at our facilities that have gotten sick. For those that were now, listen, there are, again, it's not to undermine the people that have gotten sick or people that are out there. There have been, I personally know people that have died, and so it's not to undermine that, but what Marcello is saying is true. For most people that work out and are healthy and have a good immune system, this is not what we thought it would be, right?
100%. 100%. The recovery rate is like 19.7. Okay,
Yes.
but there 0.3 out of like a lot of people. It is a lot of people. Makes sense. But man, in Brazil is sad right now because man, like people like are struggling for food. You know, people don't have money for like to pay for their rents. You know, to support their families. Everybody lost their jobs. You know, it's sad over there, man. Like every stoplight, people asking for money on the streets, families and families living on the streets. You know, and I mean, last month, man, I had to help like 3 families, okay, because I know them personally, and they're like, Marcelo, I don't have money to buy food for my kids. You know, and I went grocery shopping for them. You know, and it's sad. It's sad over there. You know, and it's so much, for example, so much politics. Examples all over, okay, in Europe, Australia, okay, Sydney, Australia open. Sydney just like Florida, okay, and Melbourne closed all the time, restrictions all the time. Man. Okay. Let's talk about good things, guys.
Okay, I do have one more question before Butch goes to the video. One more question. The BJJ vacation, and I know you do. Are you planning on doing another one sometime in 21?
The BJJ coach camp, yes, in Balneário Camboriú. Man, wow, I had students from all over. Not only students, but friends, jiu-jitsu players from all over, like Australia, Africa, Europe, you know, United States. Man, it was awesome. They went crazy over there. Every day, like I was taking them to go boating, you know, cookouts, you know, training every evening. And man, like, and after the camp, I took them to the nightclubs. And they're like, wow, Monteiro, man, why? Just the last weekend.
Yeah.
Just during the last weekend, you showed us like the nightlife. Makes sense.
Well, you didn't want to lose everybody. I know you told me that Brazilian girls really like American guys, right? Or you might just say that to get us down there. I don't know, but
no, they do, man. They do.
One of the things that stopped Marcello from me coming down, he said, if I go down and hang out with him, I have to wear one of those European thongs. I couldn't do that. So
yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, so
Well,
yeah.
you guys will love Balneário Camboriú. Balneário Camboriú, it's like a mini Rio de Janeiro.
Really?
It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And I mean, almost no crimes, you know, on the streets. And you can see people driving, like, you know, all the actors, the famous people, okay, they have apartments over there. Like for example, Wanderlei Silva, he's living there right now. Yeah, all the time. All the time. Madonna, she goes there all the time too.
Really?
Or like famous actors and all. Yeah, people from all over, man. They go to Balneário Camboriú all the time. And it's the only city in Brazil you see people driving like Lamborghinis, Ferraris, all over, all the time. You know.
Yeah, you've got security set up too for your camp too. Is that correct? Or I thought you did. Yeah.
Yes. To help me to take care of you guys, you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, Gary brought it. I mean, it was an amazing camp.
Because Americans like to drink. That's the problem. I wasn't worried I wasn't worried about crimes. I was worried about my friends from overseas like drinking too much and getting lost over there.
Well, that's a good point, because they're not like, don't worry about it. All Americans, they get a little bit asshole-ish the more they drink, right? So it's a little bit different. That's a good point.
It's normal.
Well, I'm excited. What about you, Gary? I mean, you excited for Monday? It's coming up fast, the 3rd, right?
Yeah, I'm excited. I was there for the last time I was at a Marcello seminar. We went over a lot of half guard stuff, encountering deep half guard. It was a great seminar. I got to write a lot of stuff down, learned a lot of stuff. And not only that, it was great technique, great instruction. I was able to add my game. And here's what I can tell you. I've been to a bunch of seminars where even when I wrote stuff down, I would get done and I didn't know what I did and nothing was really explained to me. And so to go to a seminar and be able to go home with techniques that worked against the guys that I was rolling with was amazing for me. So anybody who is thinking about a good seminar to go to you got the time, Monday, 6:00, Charleston, West Virginia, Butch Hiles. Marcello's going to be there. I guarantee it's going to be a great seminar and well worth any money that you spend.
I'm very excited. Very happy. I can't wait.
Well, let's end with this, Marcello, so we don't keep you all night. This was not the last. This is 2007, I believe, when you were here. But if you don't care, I'll run through this when you roll with everybody. But if you know a couple of these moves that you're beating people with, you can walk us through this. Can you see this video here?
Yes.
So, and again, for context, it's about 2007. This is at my academy. Marcello rolled with, this is not everybody, but it's probably about 50 people. And just went through the line. Most people, I remember a couple guys didn't last 5 seconds with you because you weren't messing around because there's so many people.
Yep.
That's Mike Shepard there for people.
Well, they were all without the gi.
Some were, yeah. No. Mike Shepard is an MMA fighter.
Just playing the jiu-jitsu game that I always play, okay, with gi, without the gi, you know what I'm saying? Same control positions, the arm drag, arm passing, guard, okay, keep my hips down. Okay, so I remember this guy is super strong.
About 240.
About 240.
Yeah.
About
guy. MMA fighter, K1 kickboxer. Yeah, you just reverse triangle. This is Adam Sepulveda. He's also an MMA fighter, current black belt under American Top Team.
Yep. I remember I was having such a hard time to finish him.
Yeah, he was hard to finish. Big guy, big thick trunk, tough to armbar, tough to triangle. But that was mainly his thing. He's just tough to beat, right? It's not like you're in a bunch of trouble. It's just tough to submit him.
I was just trying to figure out a way to tap him out. Makes sense.
Yeah.
You know,
this here is Brian Probst. He's a brown belt under you. Nice deep half guard sweep, which gives you a bunch of options.
Sweep, yes.
So you could have waiter sweep from there, but did he just fall over, I guess, or?
Yes, he kind of gave up.
Yeah.
Sometimes when people roll with me, they get a little nervous. Makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. I've been there. It's the same, and Gary knows it too. When we roll with our students, sometimes we'll give up, probably just like you, we'll give up side body, and people won't take it because they think we're like baiting them for something, or you know what I mean. You know how it is. It's just
yes. Because they all know my ultimate goal was the submission. Okay, so they're all of them, they're worried about submissions. Makes sense. So they're trying to hide themselves from submissions, you know.
You know what? And I don't know if it's on this video or not, but I do remember a couple guys. They were so fast. It might have been 5 seconds. You wrist locked a lot of guys too.
Oh, yeah.
May not be on here. Which I mean, literally, you guys would slap hands and then you'd wrist lock them in 5 seconds. And
This guy, I remember him too, super strong. I think he used to play judo.
yeah. We had some big West Virginia boys back then.
Yeah.
All 252, plus.
Now me catch him with a reverse triangle. Beautiful, right?
Yeah. Which you caught a lot of guys in a triangle that day for whatever reason. But I also know, I remember rolling with you in a friend of mine's basement for hours, and you were just working on chokes. And I knew when I rolled with you that you were working on chokes. So it was just like you just said, I try to avoid the choke because I knew what you're doing, but it was inevitable. But guard the leg.
I was only training. Okay, now I was like fighting for control, fighting for position. I mean, I was thinking about like submissions, but I at the same time, I don't want to lose any control or any points. Makes sense.
That move right there used to be.
I'm applying the reverse omoplata.
Yes, you used to catch me that reverse omoplata, even when I knew it was coming. Actually, I think you popped my elbow.
I'm gonna be teaching. I feel very good setups for reverse omoplatas this time.
Yeah, because you catch that quite often, which would be nice.
There are a lot of tricks to catch people with reverse omoplatas. It's awesome.
You were talking earlier. I just a second. I muted my mic on that. You were talking earlier about trying to use the techniques that you use during the seminar. Yep. And I think that I try and do the same thing when I teach a class. So if I teach a class on triangle setups, I try and use that triangle setup when it comes time to roll as much as possible. That way, it has validity. You've seen that it worked.
Yep.
I used it on you, so this shows you why it's important. So I really took that to heart when you said that. Like, I try and do the same thing when I teach my students. Like, I'm not just saying this. I'm saying I'm doing this too.
Yep. That was this match here was prime example of one that lasted 5 seconds. I just remember saying it was funny, and because I do remember this day, because Marcello knew he had to roll with about 50 people. Some of them didn't make it past the handshake, so it was always a good time. That guy there's Dune Buggy, personal favorite. There's Ashley.
Wow, I was so happy to roll with her. I was like, damn.
Yeah, she was. I miss it. She quit jiu-jitsu not long after this, but I'm sure that was a good time for her.
Nice person. Such a nice person.
Yes, yeah. Looks like an arm triangle coming, huh? So I think that kid, if I'm not mistaken, I think he is a black belt now. I think that's Jason, but I can't. The video's a little bit grainy.
Wow.
Just for context too, I don't want people to think
one thing.
Thumbs up. These are some pretty good guys.
One thing about this seminar, okay, I remember that I was rolling. I put everybody without the gi because I was trying to show everybody that, man, gi and no gi, two sides of the same coin. You know what I mean? I was trying to promote, man, if you're not learn jiu-jitsu, learn the right way, learn the proper way, have fun. Makes sense? So much to learn, to train, to have fun, to enjoy, And if you learn the right game, you're going to become good with gi, no gi, self-defense, everything.
Here comes a little kid. You're probably happy for this too.
Oh, yeah. I should roll with everybody, man.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
No, but now that you say that, I do remember that because I remember. So Gary, for context, what Marcello said, he said because there's a lot of people saying like I roll no gi, and this was it's 2007, so it was before EBI and Eddie Bravo caught popularity and no gi took off. But that's when he said, okay, we'll take your gis off and I'll show you it doesn't matter if you have a gi on or not a gi, right?
Yeah.
Everybody else. So
a lot of times we get guys that'll come in. And when they come in, I'll tell them like, I don't have my gi today or whatever. I'll be like, it's fine. I'll choke you with mine.
Yeah, there you go. Well, and also too, let me give a shout out to this guy in the background. That's Wayne Zaleska. He is no longer with us. That's why I like to bring him up. He actually unfortunately passed away. But I think that was his best friend that Marcel was rolling with, who now may be a brown belt as well, under Saulo Hiberia. But so this is a good blast from the past, seeing who stuck with it, who didn't stick with it. You know what I mean? And I was probably a brown belt during this time, or maybe even purple belt, but probably a brown belt. But and obviously it was cold. That guy there's got some wool on, and it's a beanie. I also remember every time Marcel would come to West Virginia in the cold, he'd be like, "God, bro, it's so cold," because he's obviously used to the Brazilian weather. Lots of triangles this summer. I bet we went over triangles. That's like the 10th one I've seen. So,
yeah. Which one thing about me, man, like, bro, I keep going, man, everywhere to roll with all the black belts. You know, man, all the champs, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I mean, this guy here is one of our MMA champions, Muay Thai champion.
Sometimes people call me, like in Brazil, no, man, Preguiça is here, blah, blah, blah. Man, I want you to roll for him, you know what I'm saying? Or Bochecha, or, man, man, all those guys, bro. You know,
Yeah.
All the big names, makes sense. The cool big names, you know. And in the south of Brazil, man, we have a lot of champs over there too. You know, like Abu Dhabi champs, you know, like state champs, national champs, you know. There is a train over there, okay, with like over like maybe like 40 black belts from different teams. Okay, they get together like once every 2 weeks to roll. Okay, but it's not a light roll, makes sense, because man, it's like only black belts on the mats, you know, and man, it's awesome because man, we are all getting ready, makes sense,
Yeah.
but they're all like in their late 20s or early 30s, you know, and I'm a little over 40.
Well, that actually brings up a good point. I mean, one of our last podcasts was like what it's like rolling when you get older, right? You're at that stage now, and it's not like you've declined, but just like you said, you don't go to every seminar and roll with everybody like you used to, because we don't heal as fast, right? So have you changed things now that you've gotten older?
I still feel like I'm 25, 28 years old. You know,
Mentally, yeah.
Makes sense, but man, I feel like, man, I'm still in my late 20s, makes sense. You know, for sure, I don't have the same conditioning anymore, makes sense. But brother, like I keep training, sparring, challenging myself, you know, learning from my mistakes, you know, and sometimes like after training, okay, we all like talk about techniques too, you know, about how they're playing competitions, you know, the mindset too, you know, and which man, I feel like I'm gonna be training against anyone until I'm like 90 years old.
Yeah.
I'm serious now. I'm gonna like keep training, developing my game, trying to improve my teaching skills too. Makes sense. And man, we're still growing. Our association is still growing. Okay, we got a big hit with the pandemic. They're still doing some crazy restrictions, like in Rio, on the mountains in Rio, and in Europe, all over. Okay, but man, we're still growing. We are growing in the south of Brazil. We are in Florianópolis. We are in Balneário Camboriú. We are in Erechim. We are in Tubarão. We are like in different cities in the south. We're in Rio. I mean, this is my life mission, you know, and keep teaching, helping everybody, and man, not only from my team, my academy, you know, because I feel like we're all like a big family. Makes sense. Just an example, okay? At once, I'm not saying names, okay? I was in Michigan, And then I had the 2 black belts, okay, coming from different association, coming to do private class with me. And then after that, Marcelo, man, I wanna train under you, but man, I'm under blah blah blah, you know. And then I told him, man, you don't need to train under me. Okay, you can keep training under your instructor, and I'm gonna keep helping your game the same way. You know what I'm saying? I don't care, man. You're already a black belt under Riga Machado, okay?
Yeah.
You're gonna be a black belt under Riga for the rest of your life. This is not gonna change. You don't need to train under me to learn from me. And, man, we're all a big family, man. We're working for jiu-jitsu, you know, and man, we're working to keep helping the sport to grow, you know, keep improving the knowledge, you know, the game, you know, yeah, we're soldiers of the sport. That's
Yeah,
what about
I kind of alluded to that earlier, but that, I mean, that was when I was saying, you know, when I was under Hoist, that actually is the same thing that you told me, right? You said, I'm not trying to take you from him. He's a legend. Without him, I wouldn't be here. I don't want you to leave Hoist. I'll be here to help you no matter what. And it was just on my decision that I was like, hey man, I think I like that actually. I like that nobody, normally when you meet somebody like that, somebody comes and says, hey man, your instructor's not as good as me or whatever, but you weren't saying those kind of things, right?
which man, my goal is like keep helping, like man, helping the communities all over the world, you know, like man, I don't care if someone trains under somebody else, you know. For me, we're all working to we're working for jiu-jitsu. We're working to spread out jiu-jitsu all over the world. This is my life, man. I spent 5 years, man. Okay, man, recording, making like filming, you know, and to create the step-by-step curriculum. 5 years, man, over $150,000, bro. Okay, yeah. And man, I was like preserving knowledge with this. Makes sense, you know. And this material is gonna be, man, forever. You know what I'm saying? The market makes sense. So it was my way to preserve like knowledge and keep helping everyone for the rest of my life, or after that, you know, and after that.
Well, yeah, no, I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think as instructors, Gary and I share that, right? We don't care who you train with. We love jujitsu. We share in the beauty of jujitsu. We share in the lifelong mission to keep getting better ourselves, pass it on to anybody that trains with us, anybody that we meet, anybody that becomes our friend. I feel lucky that I met you, and lucky that I'm able to learn pretty much from the source and keep with the most current jiu-jitsu known to man. And with all that, again, like I said, everything that you said, I think you brought it home eloquently and beautifully. Gary, I want to turn it over to you. Let us bring it home. If you have any questions, or if you want to just bring us into what we have coming up, that's fine. But again, Marcel, on my side, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share your knowledge and grow.
To be here, you guys, you know,
Yes.
for talking about everything, you know. And I feel just a little tired, you know, when I'm speaking sometimes, and just because, man, I've been traveling since yesterday at 11 a.m. I landed today at 11 a.m. I left yesterday 11 a.m. and I landed today at 11 a.m. here.
Literally landed, was going to teach class. We bombarded you and asked you to do this. So here you are. And here we are at 9 p.m. So you still haven't slept, but we appreciate it. And Gary, again, go ahead.
Absolutely. So guys, make sure that you go to bjjcoach.com. Check out all of Marcello's stuff. I know you can get the app on your phone. So if you look up bjjcoach.com, get the app on your phone. There's a lot of information on there, a lot of techniques. First of all, it's going to blow your mind just what he's got online already. And then on top of that, come to this.
BJJ Coach, it is on, if they search for BJJ Coach They'll find me on Apple Store or Google Play. Okay, or man, if they go to my website, I have the links over there too. And man, I have a free app, and I have the curriculum app, the combo curriculum app. It's awesome. It's my life's work.
And the curriculum is great, guys. Marcello is going to be on the 3rd. He'll be at Butch Hiles. On the 5th, he's going to be in Youngstown, Ohio. So if you're in the Youngstown area, make sure you make it out there. The 8th, he's going to be back in Indianapolis. The 11th, he's in Lapeer, Michigan. That's the 11th. The 12th, he's going to be in Thornton, Indiana. Elkhart, Indiana on the 13th. Is it Schererville, Indiana?
Schererville, Indiana.
On the 15th. And then you said you're going to be in Orlando for a week around the 18th, 19th.
Yes, and then I think my seminar in Oviedo, it is on the 18th, and the Orlando seminar, it is on the 19th.
So if you are anywhere close, I can't tell you how much I enjoyed the last Marcello seminar that I went to. It's well worth your money. So get there. Marcello, thank you again for joining us on this.
Thank you too, guys. I love to hear you guys talking about like life, it's so the BJJ coach, the future BJJ coach camp in Balneário Camboriú. I want you guys to be part of 100%.
And we definitely need to be.
You guys will love it. Okay, I'm serious.
We will get our Speedo bodies ready.
You guys will be.
I need to do a lot more crunches. You need a lot less pasta. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Marcello, thank you again. Okay. Guys, thanks for joining us today, and everybody have a good day. Well, hopefully we see you on Monday. So have a good one. Thanks, Butch.
All right, you guys.
You're welcome.